doing fantastic, Russell. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really good. It's nice to see you.
Great to see you. It's always fun popping into the streams every once in a while when I get a chance, and nice to finally be chatting with you.
Yeah, we got a couple of Toronto fans who stop by pretty much every stream, and they're always happy when you stop by to say hi. So I think they're pretty excited to have you on the show today.
Love it.
I mean, it's an obvious question, but maybe it's not so obvious. What is your favorite hockey team?
Well, of course, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, but followed very closely by the Vancouver Canucks. They are my second favorite team because I have family in the area, so always like the Canucks.
So some West Coast family there, eh? They're always trying to keep you honest, I guess. Do you have a favorite hockey player of all time?
So I do. My favorite hockey player of all time is the jersey here behind me, Curtis Joseph, the goalie of the Maple Leafs for a while there in the 90s and 2000s. Or no, late 90s. Was he playing for us yet? I don't think so. But a lot of fun with him in net. I just remember being a kid and knowing when you had Cujo in net, it was you had an advantage over every other team. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in the playoffs, but it's kind of like everything with Toronto Maple Leafs. It works out in the regular season and then not so much in the playoffs. But he's my favorite, and then followed up by Alexander McGillney, and as well, absolutely love Thomas Kaberle, the D-man, paired up there with McCabe. Loved watching that guy skate.
Yeah, those are some good ones. I mean, and going back to Cujo, like one of the greatest goalie masks of all time, still to this day.
Yep, absolutely.
So do you have a most memorable hockey moment from your years of watching the NHL?
So I do. Unfortunately, since I was not alive in 1967, the last time the Leafs lifted the cup, I don't have a championship memory from hockey. Outside of Canada, Hockey Canada winning the gold in 2010 and 2002 and all those other years that they've done it. Those are the two that stand out in my head the most. But really, for me, the biggest hockey moment in my life was back in the early 2000s in Vancouver at the Rogers Arena. Was when my grandfather, who lived out in Vancouver, got rinkside tickets for the Leafs and the Canucks when me and my mom, his daughter, were in town. And that was probably the best night of my life and shaped the future of my life. Hence, here we are, Toronto Sports Insider.
What was the score in the game?
I believe it was an overtime. It was high scoring. I think it was like 5-4 or something like that. It was a crazy game, and the Leafs got it done. It was nice.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and it might even be crazy, but is that the one? I think weren't the Leafs up like 5-1 or something like that in the third period, and they blew the lead.
Yeah, they were up, and then there was a comeback.
Yeah.
Which, yep, it's so hard to remember back that far, but
it was the same game.
I was so young.
About. My brother was a Toronto fan growing up, and we were watching that game together. And so, as a Canucks fan, watching the Canucks come back, extended overtime, I was elated, right? And then the Toronto Maple Leafs win in overtime, and me and my brother literally had a scrap after that. So we were still teenagers,
awesome.
So a little bit of a rivalry back in the day.
Oh yeah. No, it's always fun when Vancouver and Toronto get together.
Yeah. So let's talk about the channel.
Yeah.
How and why did you start streaming the Toronto sports?
So it's a funny story. So back in 2017, Toronto FC won the MLS Cup. And I don't know if you follow soccer at all with the Whitecaps, but I am a diehard TFC fan. And at my work here in Chicago, since I'm a transplant fan, this guy was like, hey, do you follow TFC? Because he saw the TFC scarf in my cubicle. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know what TFC is? What? Like hockey, people know the Maple Leafs, but soccer, especially in 2017 before they won the MLS Cup, nobody had a clue. And so we started a soccer podcast because we were talking way too much at work. And we just figured we'd get in trouble, so we might as well make an excuse to go drink some beer on a Monday night and talk about soccer, which we had fun doing. And really I learned a lot in those first 4 or 5 years with the soccer channel. And it's kind of fun. We're actually just getting it back up and going now again. I ended up having a little bit of a falling out with the co-founder. And he wanted to just kind of keep things low key. I wanted to take things to the next level. The community that we had there was growing. And so I decided I'm a diehard Toronto guy. I'm going to start a Toronto channel. and do play-by-play of the Toronto games. So now, here we are all these years later. Unfortunately, I had some events in my life that caused me to have to stop working the channel and my side hustle, essentially. And then came back, and I'm a dad of 4. I have 4 amazing kids, a beautiful wife, and they play a lot of sports. We're constantly at tournaments on the weekends, all that kind of stuff. How do I get my sports? I don't. There's only one way to get sports, and that's to, the radio, things like that, if you're driving around. And so with the over-the-air communication, I'm like, hey, this is beautiful. We can, we can do this and maybe grow a community, a fan club of sorts for Toronto sports fans. And that's exactly what it's turned out to. And it's shattered even my biggest dreams with the success of it, of how it's taken off. And especially now with the partnership with Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, Jordan is awesome to work with. And we've just been doing really big things. And it's cool because it's not about me. It's not about Mike. It's not about TSI Mike or anything like that. It's about the community. It's about Toronto sports fans hanging out together, having a good time during the game, and chatting it up with other Toronto Maple Leafs fans and other hockey fans from all over the world. And it is absolutely all over the world. We're working on a website right now to be able to get a map to show the coverage, because I can guarantee you, with 500,000 views in the Orange Bowl last night, pretty sure we covered almost every single country on the planet last night. So it's really been quite a rise and a lot of fun.
So what do you think people can expect when they're tuning into your streams?
Yeah, so like I was saying, man, it's just a place to come hang out and listen to the game, watch the game, however you're doing it. We have people who will mute the television and listen to Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph's call, because they're legendary. There isn't anything better. And shout out to Leafs Jelly HD. If there are any Leafs fans out there, make sure you're subscribed to his channel. He does the highlights of every single game with the radio commentary. And he's quicker than Sportsnet, ESPN, everything. Amazing work to him. So it's been awesome working with Jelly as well. When you come to TSI, just come to have a good time and keep it classy. That's what I say. Just keep it classy, right? We don't do politics. We don't do religion. We do sports. It's Toronto Sports Insider. You can go to 70,000 other YouTube channels or apps on your phone and get that content. That's not what we do here. And there's no sense, especially when you get into the political debate. You're 50-50. Why would you upset one half of your fans or your base to pick a side and talk about that kind of stuff? That's not necessary. There's other channels for that. So it's a lot of fun to hang out with us, and we always cheers, and it's water like I'm drinking right now because it's midday and I'm working, and there you go. Cheers. Cheers to the Canucks and the Leafs.
Yeah, on Nothing is Perfect. We always cheers to evil for some reason.
Nice. Yeah, so thanks for letting me kind of explain it there a little bit better, but we absolutely love hanging out together with thousands of other Leafs fans and cheering on our boys. And you get to learn a lot about the team from the chat. The community helps each other out. They come through, and I mean, to connections all over the world. When you have people in, I think it was Nunavut in the Northwestern Territories up there, and or I think it was Alert. And these two guys ended up finding each other, and they're like, no shit. They're like, we're right down the street. He's like, this is crazy. I'm going to go meet you. These people at the damn near by the Arctic, are listening to the Maple Leafs game, and now they're becoming friends in real life. That's what you find at Toronto Sports Insider. And that's why it's become so successful over the time, because it's about the insiders, the viewers, right? The listeners, the people that are hanging out with us. I can't do it myself. I just put it up here and put it out there for people to hang out. It's up to everybody else to hit that like button, hit that share button, subscribe, turn on that bell, do all of the wonderful YouTube things that help the success for us creators massively. So.
Yeah, we've had a pretty similar experience here, very fresh here on Nothing is Perfect. Just started this season. But even already, like, we've been trying to get viewers on from games. So we had a couple guys come on from the LA game. It's kind of a similar situation. We found out 2 of our viewers, Major Tao and Hachiko, were actually going to be attending the same game down in LA. So they actually end up sitting together and coming on the stream live from the game. So you're very right. Cool. Like, who knows what's going to happen? People getting together and suddenly they're meeting in real life and making real life
Right.
friendships, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's really really neat. For example, with the soccer channel, and I'll just give a quick shout out to that Sons of a Pitch Soccer Central. If you go back all the way back a few years back, 2000 I think, or 2020 maybe, we had the Gold Cup final. It was the USA against Mexico, and we had a guy from Las Vegas, a guy from LA, and another guy from New York all meet up at the Las Vegas Stadium. It was the Raiders Stadium there for the Gold Cup final, and they took a picture in their Sons of a Pitch T-shirt. I'm just a guy. I'm just a dad of four that has a YouTube channel that likes to hang out with a lot of people when I watch sports, and now I have people wearing a shirt that I designed at an international soccer final. Like, it's absolutely insane to think about, but that's what it is about the community, right? Because it's the group of people that make the channel, not the channel itself.
Yeah, I even had I had another YouTuber on, P Snipes 40. He's another Canucks content creator, and that's one thing he said after the interview. He's like, "Hey, I've watched every single Canucks games for the last 3 years, but I've been doing it alone. So now lately,
Right.
I've been tuning into the Nothing is Perfect stream, and it's nice to be able to sit on your couch and have that community. It's like you're sitting in a group of people at the stadium, having a good
Right.
time, chatting, drinking, making jokes, all that kind of thing. So it's a great way to get everyone together."
You got it. You got it. Looks like you're well on your way to growing a huge community here as well. Love seeing the chat popping off and the mods in there. Great work to everybody here in the chat.
So, what are your thoughts on the Leafs Canucks rivalry? Because it always seems like when the Leafs and the Canucks get together, there's a lot of fun going on. So, what really brings that rivalry to life?
Well, I think it's just the classic East Coast, West Coast. You've got kind of Toronto, and then you've got should I say, Toronto Junior in Vancouver. No, I'm sorry, I can't messed up. But it's a big city, kind of like Montreal, but it's out there on the West Coast. So I think you get more of a rivalry with the Canucks and the Leafs than you do sometimes the Flames and the Leafs or the Oilers and the Leafs. Just because of the geographical size of the cities. But man, I love watching when the Canucks and the Leafs get together. I actually have I'm a little bit more relaxed than the average Leafs fan when that happens, because I'm like, hey, if the Canucks win, Grandma's happy. So, it's all good. But it's great to see, the rivalry come out, and it's not quite like Montreal and Toronto, but it could get there if both teams are successful enough and could meet in, obviously in the Stanley Cup final would, I think, cement that for years and years to come.
Yeah, I was going to say the best way to create a rivalry is to meet the playoffs, and the only way you can do that in the Stanley Cup final these days. So I'm all for it.
Yep, absolutely.
When you think back, does it still feel weird to look at Matt Sundin in a Vancouver Canucks jersey?
Wait, he played for the Canucks?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Seriously, I had no idea, because when I really started following hockey, Matt Sundin was already a Leaf. And I honestly didn't know that until I saw you send that question over, and I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Very end of his career, he held out all the way. I think it was December he finally signed. He signed it was like an $11 million contract, played just that. I think it was the one season with the Canucks. They made the playoffs. He actually looked pretty good for most of the year. But yeah, it's always one of those ones where you're like, he played for this team?
Wow. Yeah, that is weird. That's really weird.
So the other one I want to ask you about, a couple of your defensemen that you got going on right now. Obviously, Christopher Tanev is a former Vancouver Canuck, beloved in the market. How is he looking for you boys so far this year?
He's looking great. I'm excited with Tanev. As soon as he got signed, I think there was a lot of hype for him, and deservedly so. And I think when you pair that up with the biggest offseason acquisition, in my opinion, which is our head coach, Craig Berube, you get that there's a different level of toughness, there's a different level of physicality on this Toronto Maple Leafs team in the 2024-2025 season that we have not seen before in a long time. And if you don't have Chris Tanev in the lineup, I don't think that happens quite to the same effect. I mean, over the last 5-6 games, the Leafs, I think, have won five or six in a row now, and then they lost just last night. But they've you look at the hit totals, and they're doubling up teams, 27-13. You look at it, it's 38-25. They're putting a beating on those other teams. And if you guys might not know it because you're not diehard Toronto fans, but it's been years that we've been looking at the stat sheet halfway through the first period, halfway through the second period, halfway through the third period, and we're getting absolutely crushed on hits. We're down 35-10, 35-15, getting absolutely pummeled out on the ice. And this year that's different because of the mindset of the coach and what Tanev has brought to the blue line, as well as with some other additions like OEL, and really the goaltending has been good for the Leafs so far this year as well. So everything's kind of been working out well with the new system, and I'm excited about it. I think the Leafs have a strong chance to do something in the playoffs, but that wouldn't be the first time I've said that.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned OEL. It's funny because he's got a kind of an interesting relationship with the Canucks. And when he was playing for us, his contract was so large. He was never going to live up to that contract. But now that he's got his Stanley Cup with Florida last year, and now he's playing, is he looking like a solid defenseman for you guys out there?
Yeah, he's looking really good. And when I saw him come across the board there as getting signed, I was really excited. I knew the name from the past and liked that big contract. Personally, I'm not a big contract type of guy. I think it just puts teams in a bad position, and that seems to always happen with the Toronto Maple Leafs, as well as some of the other Toronto sports teams. But, he's done a lot for the team, opening up the offense, kind of carrying a little bit of weight off of Morgan Rielly's shoulders and some of the other defensemen on the team to have that offensive threat from the point, rather than you've got the bruisers out there that are hitting everybody. So I think it's a good balance. He's not what he used to be. He'll never live up to the contract that he got. But for what he's paid by the Leafs right now, as in that type of pickup, he's definitely usable at that salary range, and has been an asset to the team.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike, for joining the stream today. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. Yep. And good luck to your Maple Leafs for the rest of the year. I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Absolutely, man. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, everybody.
Nothing is perfect.